2020's been a rough year so far, hasn't it? If you're someone who's in the slightest bothered about the news and such, I'm sure you'd agree. Luckily, not everything's doom and gloom. If you're feeling down and under the weather because of all of the things happening or personally wearing down on you, maybe sitting back and unwinding with a couple of anime will do the trick. In such a medium, it's easy to find one that will tickle your funny bones and perhaps tell you that the world isn't so bad after all. I don't know if I'd consider rom-com anime as healing anime, but they sure help you unwind and relax after a stressful day at work. So for this video, I present 10 titles that you might want to take a look at if you're a fan of the good old rom-com and want some laughs here and there. Who could forget the good old days when Nisekoi was the talk of the town? No? Then maybe you consider the waifu wars and how it turned the community upside down. If so, then you probably need no introduction to the story of Raku. Raku Ichijo, heir to the Yakuza, dreams of nothing but living an ordinary life. As fate would have it, life for him is nothing close to ordinary. In addition to having vague memories of a girl whom he made a promise to, he also runs into Chitoge, the Beehive gang's heir. In order to prevent an all-out gang war between the Beehive and the Yakuza, the two are forced into pretending to be lovers. The problem? Raku has the hots for another girl, the demure Onodera, who seems to be a really suspicious candidate of the promised girl from Raku's memories. Well, what do you know? Must be tough being Raku, huh? At least Raku's relationship doesn't involve constant torment at the hands of a smug girl too smart for her own good. For once, we have a protagonist that doesn't dream of living an ordinary life free from his past or family obligations. Instead, Nishikata's deepest desire is to get back at his seatmate and daily tormentor, Takagi. For years, our poor protagonist's been at the mercy of his seatmate, who teases him daily. Revenge would be oh so sweet. That is, if Nishikata can actually find a way to make his hits land. I mean, for everything he's tried, Takagi seems to find a way to turn the odds against him and end up teasing him even more. Luckily for them, none of that rains on Nishikata's parade, as he's even more intent on exacting revenge one day. Don't worry, Nishikata, someday you'll get her. Someday. On another note, they do say that teasing's the first sign of love, so Coming in at number 8 is Saikano. I don't know about you, but when I was at school, I once dreamt of being a game developer. Something could have struck you and inspired you to get going, despite game dev being an audacious goal for most people. For our otaku protagonist Tomoya Aki, that spark comes from a fateful encounter with a girl. Determined to make a game featuring her, Tomoya recruits his school's top creators, artist Sawamura and novelist Utaha, for his project. Of course, things aren't as easy as they seem, and to compound to the rough start to the project, Tomoya finds out that the girl he idolized is none other than Megumi Kato, his boring classmate. For those attuned to otaku culture and with an interest in the creation process of media, Saikano's a really fun watch. It may not be shirobako or girlish number, but the humor, endearing characters, and character dynamics do their job in carrying this show beyond my initial expectations. With the movie having just come out to wrap the series up, now's the best time to pick the show up and watch it all the way to its conclusion. Next is Love, Junibyo, and Other Delusions. Good old middle school syndrome. I'm sure a lot of us had it to some degree when we were young. Hey, it's not like we can help it, is it? It's fun to imagine ourselves as the master magic wielder who has the link to the everlasting cycle of rebirth. It's like playing a personal D&D before its current popularity and minus society's approval, or at least tolerance of said antics. Yuta Togashi's exactly the hero who could sympathize with us. Like most, he's since abandoned that lifestyle, pursuing a life as far away from his previous self as possible, with only some cringes at the guy he once was. Unfortunately, his past ghosts keep knocking at his door as he meets Rika Takanashi, a new classmate and the so-called master of the Wicked Eye. Yuta's dream of having an ordinary high school life ends before it can truly begin, and it's all thanks to this eccentric young girl that drags him down an unwelcome trip to memory lane. Looks like the perfect recipe for some hilarious comedic madness to me. Next Next, we have one of the OGs, a beloved classic of the mid-2000s, Ouran High School Host Club. Ouran Academy, an elaborate and prestigious high school for rich kids, is certainly not some place you'd expect to find the plain and unassuming Haruhi Fujioka. She stumbles upon a club room belonging to the school's host club, and seemingly in fate's attempt to make their first meeting memorable, Haruhi manages to break an immensely expensive vase. Unable to repay the boys for the vase, Haruhi becomes their errand boy. In a twist, she finds herself being promoted and joining the male hosts. Just like that, our lovable commoner protagonist gets thrust headfirst into the world of elaborate shenanigans that provide more than a fair share of comedy. A classic hit over a decade ago, Ouran remains one of the more popular reverse harems out there for those who were around then. If you're looking for a show that gives you hours of non-stop fun and laughs, consider this one. With its lovable characters and eccentric scenarios, Ouran's a romantic comedy that you won't regret picking up. We reach the halfway point with Wotakoi at number 5. Man, life's hard for anime fans at times. Out there in the world of normies, it's not uncommon for people of this community to be stigmatized and such. While we often have each other to count on, the same doesn't hold true for Narumi Momose, at least at first. Like a lot of people, Narumi's an adult holding a deep secret. She swears to keep her life as an otaku and a fujoshi a secret. It doesn't take long for things to go amiss as she runs into Hirotaka Nefumi, a previous acquaintance. After hearing Narumi's rant about her struggling love life, Hirotaka presents a brilliant suggestion. Why not date him? As a fellow otaku, surely dating him would make things a lot easier between the two of them, right? It's not as easy as you'd think though. Thus begins their awkward romance. Much like Saikano, Wotakoi is a show that can be enjoyed by everyone and is entertaining with its colourful characters and interactions, but beyond it all, it's a show that can be fully enjoyed by those more attuned with otaku culture. Then again, that's most of us, I guess, so I'd suggest you give this one a shot. I seriously think it's underrated. At number 4 on the list, we follow Chiyo's story in Monthly Girls Nozaki-kun. Confessing is certainly one of the toughest things to do for young students. However, when one gets over the hump and confesses, things aren't as simple as getting yes or no for an answer. Just ask love-struck Chiyo Sakura, who finds the courage to confess to the guy she likes, Nozaki. Unfortunately, the dense Nozaki, who's a popular shoujo manga artist, thinks that she's a fan of his and whisks her off to work as an assistant. Right off the bat, we're off to a hilarious start. But for Chiyo, this is an opportunity to get closer to the oblivious guy. She swears to one day make his heart hers. Along the way, she gets acquainted with some of the most colourful characters from school and Nozaki's job as a manga artist, and while they don't make Chiyo's predicament any easier, they create a recipe for surefire laughs and fun as far as the audience is concerned. At number 3, we have probably one of the most influential rom-coms before the start of the 2010s, Toradora. Would we really have a rom-com list without featuring the show with the queen of the tsunderes? Well, one of the queens, but considering they're all voiced by the same voice actress during her heyday, I guess it doesn't really make much of a difference, does it? Toradora tells the story of Ryuji, who despite his appearance is actually one of the nicest guys around. Responsible, kind, and pretty damn awkward, he's the stark contrast to the fierce and feisty Taiga Aisaka. As fate would have it, the two cross paths in an unflattering manner. Discovering each other's secrets, Ryuji and Taiga get thrust into working together to help each other with their respective crushes. All seems to go well until more hijinks, including a pretty transfer student, threaten to complicate things. More importantly, how much longer until Ryuji and Taiga end up falling for each other in this whole mess? Plenty of guys dream of entering a school full of girls, but such a dream ends up being a nightmare for our main characters in Prison School, the second-ranked anime on this list. Circumstances send 5 boys into the prestigious Hachimitsu Private Academy. Despite being the situation of many guys' dreams, the boys find themselves shunned for some reason. It doesn't take long for a rude awakening in the form of jail time after they find themselves caught for peeping. Now, being the only guys in a school full of girls doesn't seem like the best thing in the world now, does it? The boys only have each other to stick to if they want to survive this torturous experience at the hands of the school's student council. Will they manage to get out in one piece, or will they crack under the pressure? Watch this hilarious ecchi series to find out. Expect no shortage of overreactions, fan service, and awkward comedy. This is a show that doesn't hold back and will give you one hell of an experience. 10 entries, 10 romantic comedies. I want to know which one your favorite is among them. In case you haven't watched any of them, I think I covered enough bases for you here to pick something that looks appealing to you. In that case, I'd love to hear from you afterwards. Animate surely shows no shortage of comedies that come in all flavors, and we can expect to see more of those in the years to come. For now, that's got to do it. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy this kind of content, and I'll see you next time for another VinnyTube list.